Hello friends, today's lesson is dedicated to the white medium, an acrylic medium with a cracking effect. Just look at the effects it creates, they're stunning. It's applied using a palette knife spread over the canvas, then inks are poured on top, a bit more palette knife work, and voila! Look how beautiful it looks. I think I already showed you a tutorial on how to use it, but I will definitely record another one. Today, however, I wanted to explore and demonstrate what happens if we tint this medium. The medium itself is white and doesn't need tinting, but what if we change its color slightly by adding acrylic inks? What kind of effects can we get? For this, we'll need the white acrylic medium I mentioned earlier and a regular stretched canvas. It must be stretched well. If it sags under the weight of the paint, the result won't be good. We'll also need acrylic inks. These little guys are my treasure and wealth. I'm going to use the following shades: duck egg, black, moss, white and chestnut brown. Use any small bottles or juice containers you have and small cups for mixing the inks. You'll need stands or simply place the canvas on top of cups. I'll show that later. You'll also need palette knives, stir sticks, water and absorbent pads to protect your workspace. These pads are a must-have. They come in 90/60 cm and are super handy. Next, I want to test the pure shades before mixing, just applying them to paper to see what I'm working with. I won't apply all the whites, I just want to see how the colors look and combine. After making sure I have all the shades I need, I start mixing them into something more interesting. I add duck egg into a white cup and into another cup as well. Then chestnut brown. The inks mix together very easily. I add more chestnut brown. Where I mix duck egg with chestnut, I get a muddy but rich and luxurious color. I'd call it an expensive shade. Then I add moss to 2 cups. Into one of them, I add a bit of black to create a strong contrast. I always work with 3 types of shades, contrasting, midtones and lights, so I can get good color volume. I add more moss, and to one of the cups I add some chestnut brown to warm it up. Then a bit of white to make it more khaki-like. In the end, I've got a range of interesting combinations: light minty duck egg, richer versions of duck egg with chestnut khaki-toned moss, a darker shade, and then I darken one of the moss shades even more with black. I lighten the lightest tone again and add some chestnut to warm it slightly. So I have a nice color palette now. I apply each shade to paper to see how they interact. I like everything, but the black looks a bit too dark. Even though I mixed it with green, it turned out more black than I wanted. So I add some chestnut to it and get a softer dark brown shade instead. I love how it all turned out. This combo is incredibly beautiful. I just adore greens. Next, I add water to each of the cups. I want to point out that I use about 1 part ink to 2 or 3 parts water. That means, for every spoon of ink, I add 2 or 3 spoons of water. I personally prefer a slightly thicker consistency, so I usually go with 1 part ink and 2 parts water. You can adjust it depending on how fluid you want the mixture to be. Just make sure it's not too watery. The key is to avoid turning the paint into colored water. It should still feel like paint. I stir each cup using a wooden stick. Now the colors are ready and it's time to tint the medium. I first pour about 300 milliliters of the medium for this canvas and add around 40 milliliters of water, roughly 10%. I stir well. I don't want the medium to be too runny. The consistency should be like sour cream, but it still needs to spread easily on the canvas. I want to match the lightest shade I've prepared, so I use the same colors I used before: duck egg, chestnut brown, and a bit of moss. This gives me a great color. Now is the perfect time to cover your workspace. Use an absorbent cloth or protective sheet. This will help catch any extra paint, so nothing spills onto your table. I prefer not to peel the canvas off the table afterward, so I always use little cups or stands to raise it off the surface. You can use disposable cups, anything works. Also, droppers are a must since that's how we'll add the paint. I place everything I need right next to me, as close as possible. A palette knife, the prepared medium, and the inks I'm going to use. I also keep reusable pipettes nearby. They make it easy to pick up and apply the paint. And now we begin. Just like with the white medium, I pour the tinted medium directly onto the canvas and spread it evenly with a palette knife. Try to spread it as evenly as possible. Don't leave too much medium in the center. It will naturally accumulate there anyway. After I've spread the medium evenly across the surface, I begin adding the inks using a pipette. I apply them freely in a spontaneous, intuitive way. But you can also start more intentionally, for example, from the most contrasting color. Then I use a palette knife to spread the ink, creating an interesting texture. Pay attention to how the paint behaves. Under the knife it reacts one way, and in untouched areas it forms completely different patterns. As the ink spreads, it starts to look like delicate tree branches or wild grasses flowing in the wind. Next, I add the green ink, the moss color, followed by the warmer shade of khaki. And just look at how beautifully it all flows together. It's magical. This effect is completely different from what you get when working with plain white medium. That's the beauty of it. The whole point of this experiment is to show you. Sometimes when we break the rules, we discover something new. Art is about feeling your way, about following your own path. Yes, I share guidelines. Yes, there are foundational rules. But creativity lives in the experiment. Some experiments succeed. Others become our best teachers. So try it, explore, see what happens when you follow your own instincts. From here, I'll stop commenting. The process is clear, and you can follow what I'm doing visually. I hope you'll try this method yourself, because the experience of creating something so unique is truly one of a kind. I want to draw your attention to the edges, where the paint starts to flow. Notice how the ink tends to move toward the center. That's why I always leave a little bit of medium to fill in the outer edges later. I simply pour a bit more medium there and gently spread it with the palette knife. I try not to add any extra medium to the center because too much paint collects there naturally and we don't want to oversaturate it. Next, one of my favorite steps, adding highlights using white ink. I love using white, but in this case the base color isn't white. It's a very soft green with a hint of beige, a beautiful muted shade. And I've mixed my ink to match it exactly. So when I add this light tone, it creates an amazing effect, almost like it's eating away the color underneath. It's fascinating to watch. A little tip here: when applied over the colored ink, this light mixture starts to bloom and spread like frost patterns on a cold window. It's unusual, beautiful, and absolutely worth trying. This was such a fun and fascinating experiment. I really hope you enjoyed the lesson and that this technique with the white medium will be useful for your own art. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think of the final effect and whether you'd like to try something like this yourself. Paintings like these look truly stunning in interior spaces, so go ahead, try it out. I'm sure you'll create something beautiful and add a unique artistic touch to your home. And that's it for today. See you in the next video. Bye.